Hey guys, Anthony for Before Diesel. This is just going to be a really quick one. No such thing, is there? Now this is suspension, okay? So we did a video, I think it's even on YouTube, rear suspension. I'm not sure if we've done front. I think we've done other jobs where we've mentioned what you need to do, like if you're putting a lift kit in your car yourself. So I'm just going to run through it quickly on this job. First thing you want to do is obviously raise the vehicle and take the wheels off. That's an easy part. What I tell you to do doesn't mean it's the best way, the right way, the Toyota way. It's what I think is probably the easiest or best way, right? Next thing is take off the front bash plate. This is the front section. Obviously you've got the back one and the front one. There's 4 bolts that hold it up. 1, 2, and there's 3, 4. Even on a 120 similar. I'll give you the sizes on this. I think they're 12 mil actually. And there's like these hooks at the front here, right? So you've got to kind of bring it down and it's kind of like that, right? There it is. Happy days. I'll get rid of that. Good time while you got it off to put your car and bash plates on. Now if you want, you can take off these brackets here because that's what you've got to take off to get the sway bar right out. Now some people you say you got to take the sway bar off, some people you don't, you know, everybody's different. I like to take the sway bar right off. On the 120 I'll show you the bolts we're going to undo, but they're basically the D-shaped brackets here on the sway bar plus the 2 ends, the 17 mils up on the at the end of the sway bar. Follow it to the end, you can't really go wrong. But to get it out, because those are in the way, we don't really need to get it right out. So to be honest, what I would suggest is just letting the sway bar sit on top of these rather than to pull the extra bolts out. So we're going to go ahead, that's all we've done at the moment. Taking the bash plate off, I'm going to show you a little bit more detail of removing the sway bar and then sort of each component bit by bit. So get the car up, get the wheels off, and then get the front bash plate off. Hit pause now, go do that, and then come back to the video. So depending what bull bar you've got, this is on the 150, it's got this plastic trim, depending whether you've got a bull bar or a bumper bar. We pull that off first before we remove the bash plate. All right, the bash plate's there. Okay, we did decide to remove these brackets that I showed you. Right, it's only 3 14mm bolts, no big deal. Let's go back and have a look up at the car now. So now it's clear to get to the sway bar, right? So because these brackets were, you know, kind of like about here before, right? So what we're going to do now, we've taken off these 2 ends, okay? So that's just a 17mm, goes through there. So take it off, pop it out, and then just put the nut back on so you don't lose it, you know where it goes. Then you can come down here and undo these 2 14mm bolts, bada boom, bada bing, right? One of them you need to take right out, that's the front one on this car. See the back one, it's got a slot cut in it. Right, so you don't need to take that one all the way out. You can take it halfway and then slip that D bracket off. Same deal over this side, see the slot cut in at the front. So the front bolt we're just going to loosen, the rear one we're going to take it out, and then that whole sway bar is going to fall off the car. So we'll go ahead and get the sway bar off. Alright, so there you go, you got your bash plate and your sway bar off. You want to have a look at it on the ground, there's your little D brackets that all lifted off quite easily, and your ends with your nuts so you don't lose them, okay? Now the reason we remove the sway bar is because this is your strut assembly at the top. So you got to undo these nuts up the top, the 3 of them, not the middle one, okay? Just the 3 on the strut tower. And we're going to get this tie rod end out of the way is the next best thing. So split pin in the top there and that nut we're going to take off. And then to crack it loose, there's pullers and all sorts of things. We've mentioned this in other videos. For us, we've had those tools fail. The old school way that always works, but you've got to have your skills. You need to hit this with a hammer right here, not the nut, not the thread, nothing else, right? So what I do, I crack this loose, I bring the nut up to top level. That way if you make a boo-boo and you do accidentally hit the nut, you've hit the nut, not the thread. Either way it's not good, right? So you want it flush, level at the top, and you want to be good. If you're not good, don't do it. If you hit the boot, it might cost you a tie rod in because all your grease is going to come out. You're going to lose a bit anyway mucking around with these because that's what happens. Don't worry about that too much. Once you give this a good couple of cracks with a hammer, hopefully this will just pop out, right? So that's what's going to happen, and that gets the sway bar that was here is out of the way, then that's out of the way. Then when we undo this bottom bolt here, and those 3 top nuts, this whole strut's going to come out as an assembly forward this way towards me. Okay, we'll get to that. So we're going to go ahead and next step is we're going to remove the split pin, which you can't see. There'll be a split pin up there. That's the head of it right at this end here, right there. And take that nut off, get those loose, and we're just going to sit the nuts back on and then we'll come back and show you the next step. Piece of cake, isn't it? Okay, so we're actually going to get right in there and show you some skills or unskills, right? So this is the tie rod in the split pin. This is how I remove a split pin. If I can hold the camera with one hand and do it one-handedly, that'd be good. So a bit of a squeeze there like that, just to get it to come up. You can give it a little lever if you like. That's enough to get a grip. Side cutters is your tool of choice, right? A bit more maybe, right? Whatever, right? See that? Up a little bit, then enough to get a grip like that, and then really just go like that. And we straighten it out much as possible. Then with a bit of a tap that way. Oh look, that was a damn phone call that interrupted. I don't know what I'm doing here, right? So I haven't done anything. Okay, and then once you get your split pin to that point, right, you just put your side cutters in like that, right, and you just kind of like use it like a lever like that, right? Just kind of go. That's your easy way to do it, right? Like that. See, it comes out easy. There's no stressing out, doing knuckles or anything like that. See, it's out. Bada boom, bada bing, they say, right? There's your split pin. Bada boom, bada bing, and you should replace them single use only, but I can tell you now, only one side of that was bent, so you could turn it around the other way, or you could just, it'll be fine to bend it a little bit more. Just don't keep bending it back and forth heaps of them. You could probably use them twice, okay? Bending the rules, single use only. Okay, so this is a really good video for diesel fitters to learn how to fit suspension, seeing as they only know about diesel, and they don't even know much about that really sometimes. No, just having a joke, it's all good. Suspension fitting. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You've got your split pin out and you get the nut flush with the top, and then we're going to give it this area here a bit of a knock. Can you hold that torch for me? Nobody? Yeah, nobody's here. We're going to give that area there bang, 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 and this will just pop out, right? And I can't hold the camera while I'm doing that. I struggle enough as it is without it. The idea is not to smash this in. Every now and then you have a slip up and you nick this or whatever, and things get worse than a nick. I've seen them pretty bad actually on some cars. Just recently I think I gave one a bit of a nick, getting rusty in my old age. You don't want to get me to do this job. You want to do it yourself. You'll be better at it than me. Don't hit the boot either. You don't want to do that. And don't try and hit this bottom bit here. That's your ball joint. It's that, and the shock is just going to pop it loose. All right, guys. If you want, you can spray some CRC in there, blow, you know, whatever, clean it up. See how you go. Alright, so now that we've given it an absolute shellacking, and you can see where we've been hitting? Bang on there, right? Took a fair smack, right? But see, look, no damaged threads or anything like that. No damaged boots, right? Then undo your nut. Right, and then they will just, because it's a fairly new vehicle, that will just sit up there out the way, right, like that. They're nice and stiff, the inner joints, that's good. As the cars get older, they're going to flop a bit, right? Now, while you're at it, you can check your inner tie rod ends. Just have a feel, just grab them like this and have a feel, any play whatsoever, or if they're too loose, or if you've done 300,000 Ks, probably worth changing anyway. But now you can see it's nice and open, the access. I'll try and get that out the way a little bit. Right, just to give you an idea. Now once you undo that bottom bolt that you're looking at right in the middle of the picture, 19mm right there, on the Prado the bolts face that way. The nuts at the front, the bolt goes through from the back facing the, you know, the nuts at the front of the vehicle, okay? On the Hilux it's the opposite way. I don't know why they do it, things change. I prefer the nut at the front because I want to tighten it while it's on the ground so that we don't twist the bottom bush in that strut there, okay? So now that you've got the sway bar and that out of the way, it's quite simple. You undo those three nuts up the top there, those 14mm, right? Do I need to show you exactly which ones? Let's be exact. Right, this one, and there's one at the back, right? So the one hiding around the back. Not this one, okay? Unless you're doing it the way without spin compressors, you know, the AMTS way. So if you've done a Google thing and it shows you how to do it on the car, you're basically using the weight of the vehicle to compress this spring, which means, yes, you undo that one, and you're going to undo some other stuff down the bottom. We're not going to get into that. But as you jack the car up, the weight's going to come off this spring. So your spring seat's here, and the shock tower, what do you call it? Strut tower here. That's where the spring's compressed. So as you jack it up, that top shaft is going to come out the hole, right? So the spring stays in place, kind of thing. And then you pull some extra bolts out the bottom, bada boom, bada bing, and the whole thing comes out. But in our case, we use a professional spring compressor, the Brannick, on the wall, and that's how we're going to do it. All right, so we've got the bottom nut and washer off. Right, you can see that. Now let's go up the top and get these top nuts out. They're 14mm, right? They're usually pretty tight, so you put them back pretty tight, okay? It's a two-hand job, see that? Right, it's all doable. So no Well, you could do it with one hand, you know. I'm just a bit weak. I'm just a bit of a weak guy, you know. Oh, I didn't want to bump the light. I think it was one of the key reasons I didn't want to swing too hard on it. And it's always easiest to do the back one first. You can crack them all loose, whichever order you want. So you want to get the back one. Yeah. Alright, so you've got limited swing there. We use the ratchet spanner. Once you get it loose, you know, 2-finger job and nothing's going to fall off anywhere. As long as you don't undo that nut, nothing's going to go boing, and you're going to take your head off if you undo that nut and you don't know what you're doing. Springs under pressure are very dangerous, so caution to using a professional spring compressor. Only take it to someone that's got that equipment, or if you're confident to do that. I'm not even going to put that other procedure up and talk about it. I don't know, it's a bit dangerous, right? So take these 3 nuts off. Now there's nothing else left here holding this strut in other than a little bit of resistance on the lower control arm, because at the moment it's at its full droop position, which has got a slight amount of twist on the bush, and the bushes can take that. We'll just step back a little bit. I'll try and show you a bit more of what's going on, a bit of the bigger picture. Right. There I am. No, we can't have that. I'm not meant to be in the picture. Don't put that there. All right, if you saw that, just pretend you didn't, because I'm private. No, it doesn't matter, whatever. Okay, so that's there. That's there. Basically, what we want to do now, we want to get the bolt out, right? We haven't got that bolt. You can see right at the bottom of the picture, the bolt's still sitting there, right? So, I'm going to show you my little procedure, and that is, I've got a snap on, right, put it in the middle and just go and shoot that bolt off like a rocket ship like that, right? Once you've got your rocket ship launched, you know your strut's about ready to come out, right? So I'm just going to try and move you out the way a little bit, but where I can still show you what's going on, hopefully, right? So I'll move this light. I'll see, you want to see what's going on there, don't you? We'll try and leave that light there. So what we want to do, we just need to push down a little bit, right? We don't want to turn, your natural thing, I want to show you this, your natural thing is you want to turn it this way, right? You want to turn the wheel out, but that exposes this boot a bit more, right where this, can you see that in the picture? Let me get around there and have a look what you're looking at. Yeah, I'll just go down a little bit to show you this because it's important, right? So at the bottom down here, right? Your natural thing is you want to get this out, so you're going to turn it this way to pull it out, but what you're doing, you're putting that boot right in the way. You actually need to turn it the other way to get the boot out of the way. So leave it kind of straight and just push down a little bit and lift and pull, and look how easy that is, guys. See? You think I've done it a million times before. Anyway, just trying to show you the easy way to do things so you can do it yourself. Then you don't have to be put up with being told how hard it is by other people, because it's a piece of cake, right? So let's recap getting that strut out again, right? Jack up the car, take off the wheels, take off that little plastic trim if you've got it there on your front bash plate, take the sway bar right off. If you've got a 150, you have to take those other little brackety things off, right? Once you've got your sway bar off, split pin, nut, tap, 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 this pops loose, out she comes, over there out the way. If you've got your helper here, you don't have to take your sway bar off. You can have your helper here and they can hold the end of the sway bar and this out the way and you can pop that out. But you see how easy it was to do it by doing it that way. That's my point. It wasn't hard to do. If I wasn't mucking around with cameras, that would be done in about 20 minutes, really. Boom, bada boom, it's out. You want to have a look at it? Let's have a look at it. Right, there's the strut on the floor. What are we going to do now? We're going to put it in the spring compressor. Let's go over there and pull it apart. Okay, so here we are over at the spring compressor. Brannick 7400 Strut spring compressor. Okay, we'll set the bottom of the spring at the back there. Bring these in. The key thing is, don't necessarily need to teach you how to use one of these because you haven't got one. A lot of people don't use them right, and that is dangerous. Okay, so if you got one, you want to be using it properly. Okay, so you know what? Let's make it how to use the spring compressor correctly as well for the guys that have got one or can access one. The earlier models didn't have the screw adjustment here. It was a bit different, right? So the first thing you want to do is have it as low as you can on the coil without these getting stuck in between somewhere, because then you're compressing more of the spring. You don't want to be lazy and compress 3 coils. You're going to wreck the coil spring, right? And overload the machine as well. So you want to get the length of these about the same, right? So you give that a wiggle and give this a wiggle and give that one a wiggle there till they're all about the same length. That means the spring's central in the spring compressor. Now you want to get it straight level. So to do that, we need to adjust these a little bit, right? So you get to learn, you know, which way to screw them. Now we need to twist it a little bit so these don't hit the bolts. Now what a lot of people do, they put these on the coils, and that is the right way to do it. And you've got some adjustment, I don't know if you can see, on the machine further up, there is some little height adjusters, but what I've found, the best way to do it is to go up on the top hat. And some vehicles you have to do that. Not vehicles I work on, but some vehicles you have to do that. These you certainly don't have to do that, and the proper instructions probably tell you not to do that. But, because of course, maybe it's more secure, these little hooks hooking over the springs. But I can tell you now, this is why this is better. I think it's safer because, right, let me just get it all straight, jiggle, jiggle, whatever, right? Right, I think it's, again, even lengths, and then you look at your spacings here, nice and even, right? And should be good, as long as I didn't get in the picture. Now, basically by doing it that way, it might not be as secure as hooking over here, but they're not very good hooks, and then they're on an angle anyway, so I don't think they're much more secure. But because they're at different heights, there's more chance that something could go wrong, where this is all at even heights, if you know what I mean. These are adjusted level because they're on screws at the bottom. The top's not on screws, it's some slots you can pull the pin and adjust it. But this way, you can compress the spring. You can say it stays all straight and square, you know, within reason, you know, never perfectly. Look how much play we got already. We've got, you know, I'm going to put my finger there. It's, you know, it's a heat, right? We can even back it off a little bit without even trying. Hardly any pressure, it's loose, right? So for anybody that needs to use a spring compressor, maybe that's, you just learnt how to do it. Anyway, so that clip there is to hold that spring so it doesn't fall. Then we undo, now that we've taken the load off the spring, we undo that top nut, which I haven't got the tools ready, but if you hang around, I've always got the shifter ready because it's there. Some people get in and get the rattle gun. You can get in with the rattle gun if you like. It's not how we roll. We do it the old hard way, mate, you know? So let's get over there and have a look what we're doing, huh? So this is what shifters are for, right? Alright. It's not my best work because I'm in a dodgy position because I've got this camera thing going on. That's what you wanted. You want it, so I'm doing it. I'll just do what you want. Right, pretty well there. So we'll dump the tools. Nuts coming off. So if anything, you could say this is the dangerous part because guess what? There's nothing to hold it now. You know what I mean? So we've got all that off. The nut, the washer. We're releasing the. We're clamping the spring. We're releasing that. But I can tell you, there's not much pressure left on it whatsoever. There you go. It's all loose. Right. So when you use quality tools, that's what you get. So obviously the whole assembly comes off. This is the top hat that we need to reuse, okay? Unless you brought them already assembled. If you got them already assembled, you don't need to reuse that. They come with it. That's, you know, like if you ordered the suspension from me, usually the Donaldson's gear, we can have it all assembled for you with the top hat ready. So you don't have to worry about doing any of this. Obviously it costs a bit of money for the top hats and the assembly, but the amount of hassle it saves you doing this or trying to compress springs, it's probably worthwhile. Too much talking again. This is kind of like rubbish. We'll put it aside because, you know, it's not that old, I suppose, so we'll keep it in case one day. But I just want to also give you the rundown. So what you should have when you get your new struts, if you've got to put this together, you'll have a big solid washer at the bottom, then you'll have a rubber bush, and it should have a little divot coming up in a bit of a lip, and then you'll have a small thin washer. I'll kind of show you, that's what's in there, right? So you can either leave that there if you want, or you can pop that out. They're just sort of like stuck in there because they've been in there. Screwdriver and lever and pop it out. The easiest way is to put a flat blade in there, and you can see that you've got the rubber in the middle, then you've got the steel edge there. Just hit the flat blade with a hammer, bang, and just pop that, and that'll just pop out the bottom. So then what you should have here, as I said, the washer, the rubber, then the thin washer. So then this goes over the top, and that thin washer will locate in that hole there, right? Can you see what I'm showing you there? Yeah, I reckon. Yeah. And then, of course, your rubber your washer and your nut on top. Now tighten those down nicely, make sure it's all straight. But look, if you buy them already assembled, it's so much easier. It's up to you whether you want easy. It's something you're only going to do once. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but you're only going to do it once in a long time. And every few years you might change your struts. They are wear and tear items. Anyway, too much chit chat here. Hopefully you get the picture. I'll show you the next step. What's the worst part about a YouTube video? Well, I'm open to feedback actually. Text me on 0490 261 013. But don't ring me with your simple questions, as I said, until you've watched all the videos. You can ring me to buy an injector kit or a time belt kit or a front wheel bearing kit. All this information is free, but it doesn't entitle you to ask questions. What's the worst thing about an eBay video? Not eBay video, eBay. A YouTube video, okay. What I think is, you know, when you looked it up and they think they're going to show you something, it doesn't show you what you want to know, and someone says, now you need to pop that out of there, and you're like, well, how do you do that? You know, so the whole point is we need to show you how to do everything, right? So what I said, there's a rubber bush in there, right? A rubber bush, right, behind that washer. But the washer's what's holding it in, right? So basically, any way you like, I'm going to put that edge of that screwdriver right there. I know you can't see much, there's not much light, but okay, the rubber's in the middle, and in between that rubber and this steel top hat is a piece of steel off that washer there, right? So I just want to get on the edge of it. Got my little screwdriver and a nice heavy hammer, I'm just going bonk. And that didn't work that time. So I'm going to turn it the other way and try and get two edges onto it. It's a bit of a precision thing, just putting the screwdriver in the right spot. Here we go, try again. Not quite, but one more hit. One more hit. Famous last words, one more hit. Okay, can we? Damn it, you know, it never works that well when you do it in a video. Anyway, wrong screwdriver, couldn't find the one I wanted to use. It's literally just get it on the edge there and give it a nice solid, like that. Right, and then what you'll have is, okay, there's your bush with your washer over. It's just stuck on there, right, believe it or not. I'm not even going to pull it off, right, because it's like, probably because it was brand new when they put it all together, but see there's a, I'll get the new one, right? I've got the new one here. Zoom it out, give you an idea, right? So what we got is, and I've already put these on in order. They don't necessarily come in the right order. So what I said was, a big washer, your bush with your divot, kind of like a divot-y thing. See that lump there, right? And that washer, that's the thin washer, sits over the top, right? Then when it goes back together, the top hat's going to go over there, and that washer, so it's pushed in there. It's not quite as tight fit as the other one. It comes back off again, right? But it sits, it locates in there, and then you're going to have your bush, your washer, and your nut. Look at this. It's like preppy stuff how clear we are, aren't we? I hope you like it. Don't take it the wrong way. We've got to help out all the diesel fitters as well, you know, because after all, they're just diesel fitters. They're not mechanics and that. They don't know everything about motor vehicles. They know about heavy machinery and that as well. So that's handy, but not so handy on a Prado. No, we're just joking. We're just having a bit of a joke. It's all good. Problem is, some people haven't got a sense of humour, have they? You got to remind me sometimes too, because I'm a bit serious, you know. Like I do take it seriously, so I'm seriously showing you how to fit this. So we've got that out. That was the key point of this. What we're going to do now, I'll tell you. I'll give you as much as I can. We're over at the dirty old workbench. This is our brand new Dobinson's monotube suspension, right? Have a look at those babies. What we've got to do now is work out to adjust these and lock those to get the seat height. It's adjustable seat, and that spins around, which is really handy. Well, it does until you get them all dirty, rusty, and sand and everything in there anyway, and then everything's a bit harder, so get it right the first time. We've got to get the spring seat set up right so that it's like any other strut. So from where it's bolted on the bottom, the seat's at the right height, so we'll adjust that. Then we'll get our spring on, compress it down. We might show you that, we might not. We'll just see how we're going. And if there's anything I think you need to know, I just really wanted to show you what I meant about popping that out. See? What's it got, like oil or something on it, you know? It's all like damp, yeah. How's that oil? They even put oil and it was still stuck on there. Anyway, there you go. Anyway, guys, top hats. That's what you need to reuse if you don't buy new ones. Genuine ones are about 120 bucks each. I think the Dobinson's ones are about 70 bucks each, plus a little bit of labour. So it's going to cost you somewhere under $200 to have them all assembled with new top hats. So if you're interested in getting a kit, obviously assembled from me, you know what to do, give me a call. Right, so we're just getting ready to put this one back together. So we've got the new coil spring in there, depending what your selection is, whatever spring, right? And we've got the strut with the Dobinson's monotube. We've got to set the spring height, okay? So they say, the measurement, just so you know, it's from the center of this bush, the center eye of that bush, to the lowest part of the seat. So that would be anywhere at the bottom there, basically. And for a Prado 150, it's 213 millimeters. I actually go 210, so I disagree. The problem you got is the taper of the seat's a little bit different, that to the factory one. They've got 213, I've gone 210. It's not going to make a huge difference, but it's going to make enough. And depends whether you take your measurements, you know, comparing to original equipment from the top or the bottom, because yeah, like I said, it tapers a bit different. So maybe 213's right. So I'll say I reckon they're wrong, but I reckon I could be wrong too. So I'm going to pop that up there just for good looks, and we can just spin that seat around at the bottom and get it in place. The problem is we can't use the clip to clip this one in place because the spring seat's mobile. So we'll take that back out again. See, I don't do this. Like I said, I'm not the best person for the job. You just want to install it yourself as the go. That's why we're showing you how to do it. So we're going to have to compress the spring a little bit and just lift the strut straight up, then we're ready. So we're just going to screw it up to about that height. We'll get this. Doesn't really matter without. Normally you've got to worry about the alignment of the hat with the bottom, and you kind of do and you don't. Just sit with me for a minute while we get all this lined up and get it all sitting flush and level like we said before, so all the spaces at the same length. We'll just tweak those a little bit. So, you know, hard to get good mechanics and apprentices and whatever, so hopefully the mechanics and apprentices can get their training on YouTube as well. Hopefully it's you guys watching. So I'm like the apprentice teacher now, okay? Passing on the stuff that I was taught, stuff that works over the years, because maybe they're not doing it in schools anymore. I don't know. I don't know what's really happening, but it's real. Take the time. The point I'm trying to make is take the time to get this spring sitting. Try and get it so you can see the top a little bit, right? Nice and straight, right? So all these the same length, all three. Don't use bodgy spring compressors on the bench with your rattle gun and whatever. Right, and there's a few people laughing there, whatever, that's all right. I'm trying to give the, hey look, matching gloves to the springs, there you go. Dobinson's gloves. Anyway, we think we've got all these at the right length. It's pretty even, you know. If it's not, you can always back it off and have a second go if it starts cocking up sideways. Right, normally you've got to get the alignment with this right with the eye at the bottom, right, because it's got to bolt into the car. But in this case, we can take care of that, because on the monotubes the spring seat is mobile. It moves up and down and twists around and all that, so we don't need to worry about that alignment at this stage. We just got to make sure that, right, so this is kind of, if you like, the dangerous part, because we're compressing a spring, right? And I think that's heaps, but let's get our strut again. Strut your stuff. I'll just grab my bush and washer so they're ready to go on as well, in case this works out the first time, but I suspect we may have to go again, so maybe not. Oh, there it is. So we're just going to spin the seat around to line it up, but so I don't drop it, I'm going to put the, just going to sit the sit those in place, just get it started. It can't drop now. Okay, how good do they look, eh? Get a look at those. Can't say how good they look, eh? Anyway, now the key thing here is we've got to get the spring seat around the right way so it's all sitting in properly, which it's not yet. Now it is, right? Now it'll go up a bit more. We'll get a bit more by hand. Right, just make sure that's locked in the right position. Okay. Now, because it's a mobile spring seat, what we can do, I'll just show you at the bottom, this is what you can't normally do. We can twist this around to get our alignment right with the top. So let's get the whole thing back in the picture, you know what I'm doing now. All right. This has got to bolt into the car, right, into the strut tower. So that alignment has got to be square with the bottom. So again, take your time to get it right, otherwise you'll be doing it again or you're going to have a lot of trouble getting it in on the vehicle. You may get it in there and then a bit of bouncing around will square itself up. Happy days, but I like to take a good look at it a few times, and sometimes when you release the pressure onto the spring it sort of changes a bit as well. So it is easy to kind of get it wrong a little bit, but if you take your time, I've got a pretty good hit rate. Now we need an Allen key for this one, unfortunately. I'm not prepared for this. On the Dobinson's monotubes, it's an 18mm at the top. Alright, so we're going to go for it. Steve, if you're watching this video, a friend of mine, Steve, his favourite saying is, I'm going to go for it. So anyway, we'll probably watch it eventually. Hope he has a giggle. Alright, at the moment that centre rod's not spinning, so I'm just going for it. Eventually that'll probably start spinning and we'll have to put an Allen key onto there, right? Or yeah, like I said, some people will have the uni joint in the rail going brrrr, whatever, you know. I prefer not to. Depending what setup you got and where you're at, sometimes you can't get a rattle gun in there anyway. Look, you know, been there, done that, don't get me wrong. But this is tightening down nicely. Now, how tight? Well, depends. Suspension and bush manufacturers tell me different things. Sometimes they say go all the way to the end of the thread. Some say, nah, don't you just squash the hell out of the rubbers, there's no need to. I like to just go down till I'm happy, right? And then you can tighten them up on the car, but it is easier to do it here. Well, there you go, we've tightened it that much, it's actually pulled the, all the load's gone off the spring compressor. This is pulling it down, so, wow, there you go. Haven't had that one before. Well, actually, I think I have. But, so, I'll go a bit more. Hopefully that alignment still looks good. We'll check it out in a minute. If you leave this is what happens, right? You don't want to overdo it. So you can put them together like that and then tighten them up a bit more on the car. Once the weight of the car's on it, the pressure will come off this side, the pressure will be on that side. And you can obviously get in there with your spanner, ratchet spanner, and tighten it up. Hopefully you don't have to put an Allen key in. But once the bushes settle in, you sometimes do need to nip these up, say 1,000 k's later, because these bushes do soften up a little bit. And then what you can get a bit of bounce in these bushes here, because you haven't been able to do them up super tight because they're new, like so we should leave it at that now. I might go a little bit more. But the point I'm trying to make out, what I'm trying to point out is, look, I've gone a fair way with that one anyway, so I'm pretty happy with that, you know. The bush doesn't look crazy squashed, so we'll let the pressure off it and check the alignment. You can tighten it up on the car. If this is not, so now that the pressure's off, all the pressure of the spring's pushing against that bush, so it looks tight. So you've got to make sure you've got a bit of pressure on the top hat still while you're tightening up so you get it all right. Point is, if it becomes loose, when you're going over bumps, that rod is sort of bouncing up and down in between this top hat. And if you get a squeak from your front end, so this is what you get for watching videos, you get information. If you get a squeak from your front end on a Prado, for example, they don't squeak, right? So if you do, it's probably caused by someone, and that someone could be me. No, if that's not tight enough, could be me or you or whoever, right? So that alignment's pretty good. We're going to try and get that in. It's a little bit out. It's about 3 degrees. No, should be right. I'll show you if you like, if you don't believe. I'll show you. You're going, what am I talking about? Well, see the bottom. See the alignment. We've got it pointing straight in and out, right? Directly towards me, you know. Well, actually, maybe a little bit like that, right? That's dead straight towards me. And then we look at the top. Now, maybe hard for you to see, but you know, one of these has got to go at the back and 2 at the front, right? So it's kind of like, you know, that's the amount that it's out, you know, like kind of like it's a couple of degrees. So it should fit in the holes. There's a tolerance in these holes. You need to get that lined up, guys. Hopefully that's helped. Let's get it back in the car. Look, I don't know really how much this is going to help you, but here it is, right? The idea is to lift it up, use your muscles, right? Just sit one of the top nuts on. That's what I'm doing now. You can't see right up the top, but the strut's sitting in there. That way I can gently give it a rest like that. It's not going anywhere. Right, so I lifted it up, and I didn't do the nut up tight. I just sat one in the hole on an angle, right, and got the nut started 2 or 3 turns. It's not going far at the moment. Now what we can concentrate on, do you want me to show you? Right, so it's just hanging like that, right? It's not going anywhere. That way at any time if you're struggling, you know, sometimes you're going to be doing this on your own. So we want to make sure we help you out as much as we can, right? You know, when I do these, I do them on my own, usually. Not anymore. Not happening, I don't do them. You do them, I watch. Anyway, so now we can easily pop the other one in the hole. Like I said, we just need to push it. It's only got a little bit extra travel, right? Because we don't want crazy extra. It's not all about travel, right? So it lined up beautifully, right? Okay, you want to have a look? Let me get you out of there and come over here. Come on. Right, so there it is. It's sitting in position in between. That means the alignment's good. See, we've got all the holes in at the top. So the alignment was good after all. And it's sitting in position, as in between. It's not right where the bolt's got to go yet. We'll get to that. All right. Now, what was I going to try and say? So all we need to do now, your easiest next step is put all these nuts on at the top, right, and tighten them down, right? So all three of those, we're going to get those and do them all the way up now. And why are we doing that? Because everything's aligned in position, right? So there's not going to cause any problems if we do that. So we're doing that, we're putting those three nuts on, and why are we doing that? And we're going to tighten them up. And when I say tighten them up, you don't have to do your final tighten, but all the way on the threads, right? And use a spanner. That way you've got it pulled all the way up, right? Because while you're trying to pop this in at the bottom and fiddle around, it's already in this one, but look, normally if you're having trouble getting in, you can even put those nuts in first and then pop this one in. Because as you're pushing this arm down a little bit, right, to get that to go in, like what's going to happen to push this in to get it to the bolt, the whole thing will drop down. That's why you do the bolts at the top, so it holds it to the top, all right? So this is what we're doing now. We're going to nip those three at the top up, and we're going to pop this back in place at the bottom and get that bolt in. All right, so all I've done is tighten up those top bolts. Now we're going to see about getting this bottom bolt back in. Now we've got to go find that. Remember, it was a rocket ship, and we launched it off when we smacked it with a with a mash hammer with that Phillips head. Now the same thing's kind of going to happen. Let's see if we can get this to go align. Okay, so this can be a bit fiddly, but not always. Now you can see, I don't know if you can see it, it's pretty dark in there. Is this 4K video or not? I don't know. Anyway, the alignment's pretty good. We're not giving it a stupid amount more travel, so we don't need to relax the bushes at the lower control, and we're not changing things much at all. You can if you like. You can do that and get your wheel alignment done. This screwdriver is going to be a guide, right? See how I'm levering it up and down? Right, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to look in from this side to when I'm happy, then I'm going to put that bolt back in, right? And I'm going to push that bolt while I wiggle this a bit. Right, the bolt's kind of in the hole, but... And then, look, the bolt's sitting in the hole. I'm getting rid of the screw. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to push on the back of the bolt and push down on the disc rotor. You can see it's just about through the hole. I'm going to use the handle end of the flat, that screwdriver, that Phillips head, and give it up. Right, piece of cake, guys. Yeah, no, the first one's never that easy, but when you watch someone that's done a few before, and you are privileged to do so, right, don't do that up till it's on the ground, okay? The bolt's all the way in. Make sure the bolt's all the way in. You can do it up as long as you undo it again, right? Because the bush in the strut here is the one we don't want to twist too much, so we want to finally tighten that when it's on the ground. So this is just getting easy, isn't it? All you got to do now is put your tie rod in back on, you know, this one here. So we'll just do that for you right now because it's all rolling. You know, heaps of people stopped watching and got bored and reckon I talk too much and all that, but you know what? Showing you how to do something, you know, that's how long it takes. We've cut a few bits out, but it's not a 5-minute job, so I can't make a 5-minute video. You'll have, like I said, what's the worst thing about a YouTube video? The ones that don't show you anything. Well, these are going to be the ones that show you something. And this might not even be on YouTube. It might just be in the VIP group. It might be in the VIP group for years, and then I might eventually release it, you know. 4x4 Diesel Unleashed. As I've mentioned before, we've got a whole heap of videos there that we haven't unleashed, and the VIP group's the place to be. So that's just sitting in there as well, right, just loosely. Right, that's just sitting there. We're going to nip that up. Of course, now we're going to repeat the same at the other side, and then we're back to putting the sway bar back on, if you know what I mean, right? Remember the sway bar? You know, it's over there on the ground somewhere in the background. Right, guys, that's what we're doing next. We're going to do the other side. No point showing you that all over again, right? All right, so another little good example. We're just doing the other side. It's all good, other than this start at the center is spinning on us, right? So nothing's happening. So try and get in a position where you can see what's happening. Just for your info, it's a 6mm Allen key, right? So of course all we've got to do is use that to hold that center. So if you've got them on the car, if you purchase a set from me, and you've got them on the vehicle, it's probably worth checking after a week or 1,000 k's of bouncing around, because there's varying levels of how tight these get done up, depending on a few factors, obviously. What springs are in there and that sort of thing, right? So as I just applied more pressure on there, and you can see that looks less tight now. So it can be a bit deceiving to know how tight they are, and you do want them nice and firm after they've run in, but not over tight straight away. We don't want to, look, I've never seen any of these bushes, the Dobinsons or any other brand, split or anything from over tightening, but some brands that used to come out and see us used to say, oh no, you know, don't over tighten them, just nip them nicely, you don't go all the way to the end of the thread, you know. But then others say, yeah mate, they're designed to go all the way to the end of the thread. So everything's different. There's no absolute, you can't really go wrong, you know. If you leave it loose, you need to nip them up. Don't leave them loose for 50,000 k's. What damage is it going to do? It's probably going to chop a little bit out of your top hat, which won't matter. You'll have to replace that middle washer that went on top of the bottom bush so that it locates in the top hat so that it doesn't bang around and make noise and whatever. But look, by the time all that usually happens, I think you probably need a new set of suspension. That feels like about right to me. I don't know, does it look a bit like the other one? Anyway, that's what you got to do. 6mm Allen key, same deal on the car. Okay, getting that alignment, we've got this pretty square. The front one closest to us and the two at the back, right? Doesn't matter which way you have it, that's how it works on the machine. It's opposite to how it goes in the car. But as long as you go to the bottom and you got it facing straight in and out as well, same deal. Happy days. Okay, so we're slowly getting them back together, and we just want to recap on everything you've got to put back together in case you've forgotten. So this is the point that you want to watch and check and see what's going on, right? So the last thing that came in and out was the strut. So you got your middle nut you did on the spring compressor, or it was already assembled for you. Your 3 top nuts, there's one hiding around the back there, right? So make sure you get that. The bottom one we're going to do on the ground, so don't forget that. That's when you check your wheel nuts. Oh, click, click, click with the torque wrench. You got to check that bottom one there, the 19mm that is. This one's just sitting in here loose, 17mm. We've got to zip that up. We've put the sway bar back on. So we've got those D brackets, those 14mm. We've got to zip those up. You can see they're just sitting there in place at the moment just to show you. And of course we've got to tighten up this 19mm on the tie rod end and put the split pin in. Then we're going to put those other bash plate details on. We'll get to that in the next section of the video.